Sinfra was a cargo ship built in 1929 as Fernglen by Akers Mekaniske Verksted in Oslo, Norway, for a Norwegian shipping company. The ship was sold to Swedish owners in 1934 and to a French company in 1939, on the last occasion having her name changed to Sinfra. Sinfra was confiscated by German authorities in 1942 and used by them in the Mediterranean. On 19 October 1943, Sinfra was bombed and sunk by Allied aircraft north of Suda Bay, Crete. Around 2,000 people were killed in the sinking, the majority being Italian POWs. Description: the vessel was a 4,444 GRT steel-hulled cargo ship, built in 1929 by the shipyard Akers Mekaniske Verksted in Oslo, Norway, as Fernglen. She had yard number 434. The ship was 117.4 meters long, with a beam of 16.7 meters and a depth of 7 meters. She had electric lighting, wireless telegraph and 2 decks. The ship was propelled by 2 6-cylinder 4SC diesel engines with a combined total of 624 nominal horsepower, which gave her a top speed of 12.5 knots. Each of the engines, also built by Akers Mekaniske Verksted, powered a screw propeller. History: Fernglen was launched on 15 May 1929, and completed in July of the same year. She was built for A.S. Glitre of Oslo, Norway. The ship was assigned the code letters LHKB. While Fernglen was under construction, Norwegian painter Thorolf Holmboe visited the shipyard and painted the scene. The maritime painting to skip by flight dock Akers Mek Verksted portrays Fernglen under construction, as well as the Fred. Olsen & Co. cargo ship Borger undergoing maintenance in the neighboring floating dry dock at Akers Mekaniske Verksted. Fernglen was one of 9 ships belonging to Fearnley & Ager that formed the Fernline. The Fernline ships were employed primarily in liner trade, carrying phosphate and cotton to Japan, then sailing from the Philippines to the United States with cargoes of copra. On 13 August 1933, she ran aground 30 nautical miles south of Cape Gadafui, Italian Somaliland, whilst on a voyage from Makassar, Netherlands East Indies to Aarhus, Denmark, with a load of 7,422 tons of copra. The British tug Preserver and the Dutch passenger ship Christian Huygens went to her aid. The British tug Protector was sent from Suez, Egypt on the 22nd of August to assist Preserver. Fernglen was refloated on the 8th of November and taken into Ras Alula, Italian Somaliland, for examination. The necessity of discharging her cargo by hand was the main factor in the delay in refloating her. The damage caused by the grounding was such that the ship was considered beyond economic repair. The refloated wreck was towed to Rotterdam in the Netherlands. In 1934, the wreck of Fernglen was nevertheless sold to the Stockholm-based company Redra A.B. Jamaica, repaired and renamed Sandham. The repairs and rebuild work on the ship was carried out at Oresund shipyard at Landskrona and entailed the replacement of 600 tons of steel and the complete disassembly and refurbishing of the ship's machinery. Oresund shipyard's work on rebuilding the ship was one of the largest hull repair jobs ever carried out in Sweden at the time. The rebuilding was completed on 5 December 1934. The ship's tonnage had been changed to 4,470 GRT. The vessel was assigned the code letters Siva. Redra Jamaica employed Sandham on trade lines abroad. In 1939 she was sold on to CIE General de Navigate per Cyprien Fabre of Marseille, France. The new French owners renamed her Sinfra. In December 1942, the German occupiers of France confiscated the ship. They retained the French name of the vessel. Management of the ship was transferred to the German semi-public Mittelmeer Reederei, which managed all civilian ships confiscated by the Germans in the Mediterranean, transporting prisoners of war. The Greek island of Crete had been captured by the Germans and Italians in the Battle of Crete in May 1941 and was occupied by a mixed German-Italian force. The Italian garrison unit was the 51st Siena Infantry Division, consisting of 21,700 men, which occupied the easternmost prefecture of Lacedae. On 8 September 1943 the armistice between Italy and Allied armed forces was signed, and the Italians in Crete and elsewhere were disarmed by the Germans without major problems. As elsewhere, they were given the choice to continue the war alongside Germany or to be sent to the right to perform forced labor. The Germans employed ships to transport Italian prisoners in the Mediterranean. Of these, a dozen were lost, causing the deaths of at least 13,000 prisoners in total. A minority of the Italian soldiers on Crete chose to continue the fight on the German side and formed the Legione Italiana Volontaria Creta. Sinking on 18 October 1943, 2,389 Italian prisoners were loaded into the cargo hold of Sinfra to be transported to Piraeus on the Greek mainland. There were 204 Germans on board the ship, as well as a cargo of bombs. Less than an hour after departing Cedar Bay, accompanied by the escort vessels GK-05 and GK-06, the ship came under Allied air attack. A total of 10 USAAF North American B-25 Mitchell and RAF Bristol Bow fighter aircraft engaged the ship, some 19 nautical miles north of Cedar Bay. At 22:05, after nightfall, Sinfra was struck by a torpedo near the front hatch, and at 2300 the ship was hit by a bomb which penetrated the engine room. The hit knocked out the ship's steering and set Sinfra on fire. At 2:31 on 19 October, the ship blew up and sank. Most of those who died in the sinking were Italian POWs. The number of dead is disputed, with estimates ranging from 1,857 or 2,098 killed, up to 5,000 dead. Amongst the survivors were 597 Italians, 197 Germans and 13 Greeks. Some 3% of the Germans on board died in the sinking, while according to conservative estimates close to 77% of the Italians perished. The ship had insufficient safety equipment in relation to the number of people on board. In addition to the 2 escort vessels, 11 other German vessels responded to the SOS signals sent out by Sinfra. The rescue vessels were under orders to prioritize the rescue of Germans. While rescue efforts were going on, a No. 603 Squadron RAF Bristol Bow fighter strafed a German Dornier 24 flying boat which was participating in the rescue. The D-24 later sank. As Sinfra burned, the German guards on board locked the prisoners in the holds and threw hand grenades at them. When the panicking, surviving prisoners broke out of the holds and charged the guards, attempting to board lifeboats, the guards opened fire with small arms and machine guns, killing many. According to Italian naval archives, some 500 Italians were rescued from the sinking ship, but after the survivors had been brought to Hania, Crete, about half of them were executed for undisciplined behavior and the killing of guards during the sinking. Bibliography: Alness, Carsten, Historien om Norge, Volume 4, NNY Arbeidsdag, Oslo, Gyldendal, ISBN 8205230315. De Jong, Peter, Dornier de 24 units. Oxford, Osprey Publishing, ISBN 9781-4728-0570-6. Grotvedt, Paul. For fuller sale. Marinemali Riet i Norsk Billedkunst. Oslo, Stenesens FORL. ISBN 8272012588. Schreiber, Gerhard. Die Italienischen Militärinternierten im Deutschen Machtbereich 1943–1945. Verrachtet, Verraten, Verjazen. Munich, R. Oldenburg Verlag GmbH. ISBN 3-486-55391-7. Wasberg, Gunnar Christie. Fernglen Ager 1869–1969. Oslo. Dreyer, Williams, David L. In the Shadow of the Titanic. Merchant ships lost with greater fatalities. Brimscombe. The History Press. ISBN 978075247477138.